Well, what do you know? Halfway through the summer. Ooh, and it's still hot, steamy. We just went through a lot of rain this week. I expect a little bit more. We're a little flooded out here in NYC, especially in our subways. New Jersey's is a little flooded out as well, but you kind of expect it, you know. They try to blame it on, it's the climate changes. We've always been flooding out in New Jersey and in New York, you know. We need to fix things, you know, to get things right. But, you know, other than that, welcome to another edition of a Taco Thursday here on Cuticast TV. It is the 17th of July. For those of you in certain territories, guess what? It's time to get ready to get back to school. Well, yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Back to school is around the corner for certain states. Places in this country. You know, like Florida, for example, on there, because they ended their school season a little bit earlier than us here in NYC. You know, most of the kids here in NYC, we go back in September. So we still have a good way on there because we're just hitting the peak of the summer of anime on there. We've got a lot of great stuff. There's a good long listings of good stuff and some dumpster fires out there that's worth it. You got a yaoi out there that might end up to be number one of the year, surprisingly. And considering it's a yaoi with horror elements in it. Besides that, we're doing good. Don't forget to drop a comment, a like, share, and, that little subscribe button, smash it right now. Really, really important. Whether you're on YouTube or Rumble. Yes, this is the slowest time of the year for most content creators, but we're still here to make content. We do really appreciate those who have been here. Thank you. Thank you very much out there. Because there's so much that's going on. There is so much. We just came out of Anime Expo. The next is going to be San Diego Comic-Con. And after that, I think it's in October, NYC Anime will be here with us on them. We're going to have a lot more information from some of the stuff that was released at Anime Expo. Because there's so many questions, so much information that's been put out there. But here's some more information for you. And I mentioned that, we're headed for back to school. In our description below, check out our gear shop on there. T-shirts, mugs, and stuff like that. Back to school is coming up. We do have a bag or two on there also you could use for school. It is 15% off till September 14th. The 15% off promo is math, because math is very important on there. So do check it out. Description below on there. It's shopcuticast.com. So, where do we start? Where do we start this episode? Well, first thing off the bat is, I'm going to give you not one, not two, but three, I don't know how to put it, maybe four bad news things. We're going to start off with Kakaguri. You know, Kakaguri has a live action through Netflix called Bet. Well, it seems like they've already greenlit, even though it hasn't done really well on Netflix streaming. But Bet is going to get a second season on there. I mean, I don't know what Netflix is thinking on this, honestly. No offense to Netflix. And considering today's story is talking about Netflix, you already have a Kakaguri live action, which it's really good. It is good on there. They have I think it's 2 seasons and a movie. And it's well worth that one, which the anime itself is, it's really, really good. I don't know what they're thinking. Another thing that I don't know what they're thinking about, but I know that they're trying to jump on this, but I think it is a Japanese adaptation or Korean adaptation. I'm not certain which one because we haven't got the information in the studio yet. Solo Leveling is going to get a live action version coming also toward Netflix. I don't know when this is going to happen. This one, no offense, but after the Akira situation which Warner Brothers has dropped out of. I mean, the thing with Netflix, they've been buying a lot of the Korean stuff lately. I don't know how they're going to do this with the special effects, you know, with the Akira situation. Warner Brothers dropped out of it because of that alone. That alone, the cost onto that. I mean, today's, they say, well, it's cheaper today to make a VX. Um, yeah, but it depends on how the emphasis you put on, especially with anime adaptations. Anime adaptations is not the easiest to do when it comes down to it. It's not going to work out that well. There are only very few Western adaptations that's worked out. One Piece, Battle Angel, Alita Battle Angel. There's like one or two others in that listing also as well. Stuff that's from overseas that has done very well. You have a better hit and miss percentile overseas in Korea and Japan than you do in Hollywood and the U.S. on there. And I think that it's a possibility that Netflix will go with a Korean studio on this into itself. Speaking other live action adaptations, supposedly Sony is going to be working on a One Punch Man live action. Oh my God. This is insane right here. I mean, we're getting into the next level. I mean, there are producers out there and directors and creators that are saying that Hollywood needs to stay away from this subject matter as far as anime live action adaptations. They just don't have the ability to properly make one on there. Like I said, it's a high hit and miss percentile, more toward miss at that point. And then if you think they didn't get enough pain by dropping Akira, Warner Brothers is looking to do a Bleach live action anime. I know they have their Japanese division out there, which also has been a hit and miss. And this is according to someone who used to worked at Viz Media, that it's been in the talks since 2006. And just like Akira keeps coming up, it keeps coming, it keeps going. So is it true that they're going to be working on it? I mean, it's hard to say. Like what happened with Akira. How many people, how many directors, how many actors have come and gone from that project? And like I said, this has been talked about since 2006. It came up last year in 2024, and now it's coming up again in 2025. So who knows what is the truth on this? I take it as a grain of salt. This is another anime that it's going to be special effects driven. Technically it can be done, but the way things are handled, especially at Warner Brothers as of late, don't expect it to be a marvelous blockbuster. And that's the thing about it is also, these studios need to stop looking at these as blockbusters. They need, they want to engage it to the point where they want to bring in everyone into the theater or bring everyone to the screen. The thing is, this type of subject matter of the anime world, it only hits a certain amount of people on there, even though there has been an increase over at Netflix when it comes to places like Netflix, which they're seeing a big boost in their viewership as far as anime terms, which we'll be discussing a little bit later on there. But the thing is, you just can't sit there and say, hey, we're going to make a theatrical movie on there and expect everybody to show up. Or we're going to make a theatrical TV series and expect everyone to show up. If it's good, the fans are going to show up. If it's bad, the fans will still show up just to criticize how bad it is as well. Any new goers, it would have to be super extravagant for anyone to catch on. And we've known this for many years now. It's just Hollywood hasn't gotten the message yet. to that point that let the anime to the experts, especially live action stuff. Leave it to them. Let them work on it on there. If you want to, hey, listen, Netflix and all the other, if they want to buy the product to bring to the West, that's okay. That's fine and dandy, as long as you don't change anything in to the situation, edit anything, change dubs, change subtitles. No, as long as you don't do any of that, I'm fine with you guys bringing it in on there. So, continuing on. Anime Expo. We've just passed through it. And I've been spending the last week or so going over a lot of information because there was so much. We're going to talk a little bit about it this week and a little bit more next week on there because it'll take 2 shows just to talk about it, but not a whole entire show, just a segment of the episode itself because there's another big thing after this. I'm going to give you a top 10 of things to look forward to. Some of them you may know, same thing with me. Some of them you may not know, same thing for me on there. Some of these I've seen, some of them I haven't seen, some of them I've had a little seen on there, or I've seen completely. Now that I have you confused, basically what we're looking at, and we're going to do it as, line up as a 10, in the number 10 position. This particular one had some controversy to it, which I watched a couple episodes and I didn't see what they were really talking about. But then again, I haven't gone through a whole season of it yet. But it's been a while since on there, and most likely those who have criticized this series will probably be criticizing it again. And that is Saga of Tanya the Evil Season 2, which is coming out on there. They had a bit of a teaser on there, and that's going to be coming out for 2026. And like I said, some of these military animes on there, they try to like, oh, he's fascist, and you're trying to promote. I said, no, it's a story. It's a story. One of the great ones on there was Full Metal Alchemist. And they criticized it. They created Full Metal Alchemist, Attack on Titan. You're going to have military stories, of course. Where were you with Starship Troopers? The original live-action Starship Troopers. Did you complain about that? That's a bit of similar to militaristic as you can get. But no, it's they choose the anime because basically, that's the whipping boy these days when it comes to content. In the number 9 position, and I don't know this one too well. Maybe you do out there. But number 9 will be Mission Yokosuka Family Season 2, which we will get in the winter of 2026. That'll be in January itself. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with this one, but if you are and you're a fan, hey, you're going to be getting another one next year. Also coming next year, we don't have an exact date on it, but it is slated for 2026. Is Season 3 of one of the top popular ones out there, especially on High Dive, Oshinoko, which we're going to continue on. And, some of the controversy to the situation, especially out of the manga, people have, been disappointed on, I believe the manga's already ended, or is ending, and they're not liking some of the pages on there. But this story, surprisingly, really, really good. I'm just halfway through the second season on there. I haven't gone back to continue the second season. But like I said, this one, if you like a good story like this, a bit of the pop idol type situation with a bit of a murder mystery wrapped around it. So it's sort of like almost like a Perfect Blue in a way. If you have never seen Perfect Blue, this is the time to catch it now because it's readily available. A movie that was banned at one point because it's depictions on there, and this has been you have 2 separate directors have used it in their regular films, like for example Black Swan to that point. But Oshinoko, 2026 on there. Then, of course, banking on the fan animations and the stories that have been coming out of this, and the anticipation of this particular arc that's coming forward, uh, to that point that we're going to expect the return of one of the main characters uh, for season 3, Mushiko Tenshin, Jobless Reincarnation, season 3. This is one of the best animes in anime history. I mean, this is fantastically, beautifully done. And I know those of you out there that don't like it because of its cringiness of the, how can we put this to the point? The sex type situation where the guy's a bit of a, pervy to the point. The main character on there, Rudy. But other than that, it's a really good fantasy series. I mean, in Isekai, that he was reborn into a new world. He remembers his old life, and you got to remember, and this is where it becomes to the point that this is a redemption for him, for the life that he left behind him, because he went through things. He was bullied. He was antagonized on there. He became, and this is situations that actually happen in Japan, that there are people out there that become shut-ins in life, that basically they don't leave their home, that they just stay in, watching videos, playing video games, to the point of watching anime, and they just don't leave the house. They order stuff in to that point. And this is a situation that has always been ongoing for quite some time in Japan. And to see something like this, and this is what we're getting into, that he's trying to make a life for himself in this world, that he's doing this whole situation, and the dread of the things that's going to be coming upon him for season 3. The situation of Orsted is, they're saying that Orsted's coming back for this season on to there as well. We'll see on that. But back on the heels of this, and this is a tag team on itself. This is the other anime that has been, in the crosshairs. Beside Mushiko Tenshin, the crosshairs of these two anime together is the big circle of what is to be the anime hits of this era of the history of anime. Back when I was younger, it was the Sailor Moon, the Dragon Ball Z, the Bleach, Yu Yu Hakusho. I could go down the names on it. But now you can add these, Mushiko Tenshin is one of the ones that you can add to it. And also this one that's getting a season 4, which is also been spectacular, is ReZero. Yeah, that's right. ReZero is coming back for 2026. Another season of this. And, the excitement between both these two animes itself that have been coming out, both that, they've held tight each other, even though they're about a season apart. As for that, one's at a season 3, the other one's at season 4, but both are very good. They're, the scripting is very good. The animation itself, the beauty of the whole situation, the way they leave off episode to episode, it's very well done. And this is why you want to be sitting to watch anime. For those of you who have sat there and say, "Well, I've never watched anime before. Why should I be watching?" These two shows are the reason why you should be watching. How good these are. This is stuff that freaking Hollywood could not have conceived, not even on a fortnight, that they could sit there and say, well, let's make a story about a guy who has the ability, he's been taken into another world, and he's able to die and get sort of brought back in time to the point, sort of like a save point in a video game. At that point, you couldn't even put to that presence on there. You could say, well, there have been other, things like a Groundhog Day type of situation on that. But to the quality, to the level that this is, with the action and the horrifying deaths that happens on this series itself. I mean, the first season alone will just tell you what you're in for just in the first minutes of the episode on there. So 2026 for both Mushiko Tensei and ReZero. And speaking of another season 4 that has been popular and it deals with somewhat time travel, Tokyo Revengers season 4. Unfortunately, I have not even started season 1 on this. Eventually, probably I'll start it eventually. This is one of the ones that I have missed. Friends of mine saying, "What are you nuts? Why haven't you gone onto this one yet?" I haven't. It's had a good movie. The movie has done very well, and we're talking anime movie has done very well in the box office. I think there is a live action already out there as well or coming. It's another one that's well done to itself, a good story on itself, and it's well worth the watch. So 2026 for that one as well. And here's another one that is worth to be watching anime right now. This particular series has been underrated to the point, even though it has been proclaimed as being one of the best out there, but at awards ceremonies and stuff like that, this has been missed out because people are just to the point that they're just catching it now as well. I've done season 1. I've seen it in both Japanese and the English dub itself. And I'll say this: this is the most accurate depiction of an elf in an anime series, an anime fantasy and stuff. And what I'm talking about is Frieren Beyond the Journey's End season 2. Yes, it is coming back. It'll be here for winter 2026 in January. It is a beautiful tale. I've said this many a times. This is a tale of the journey. This is sort of a Lord of the Rings itself, but taken from the point of view of the elf. And the aftermath, after Sauron and all them has been defeated. This is a story about an elf that she's basically making a journey in herself. Long after some of her friends have passed away, long after that most people that when they've dealt with their story, their adventures, is just a tale in the background. That most people just have put aside. That they've made statues for them, and the statues have now grown moss around them and stuff like that. In fact, you see there is an episode that they basically clearing out one of the statues of one of the adventurers from her group, and now she's taken on new adventurers with her on her journey path back to the way, on her way to, I guess, to handle another demon lord. I believe that's happening. There's another situation going on, but this is beautifully done. It's beautifully done, and to see, how can I say, one thing about with elves, and you don't realize it, or with characters in fantasy that have long lifespans. How would you put to the perspective if you've had a long lifespan? How would you feel? You look at her, look at the emotion that she has to the point. She's not thinking of romance. She's not thinking of, many things that most characters do in a fantasy series. She continuing her studies in magic. She's basically on her way on a journey situation. She looking up some of the friends that are still alive to the point, and now she's taken on a student, and she's gotten on another adventurer to work with her, and they're just moving on from town to town. And she reminisces to the past to the point to explain, how it was in the past on there. And it is a fantastic story because you just don't know where you're headed next. It's the journey itself, the journey, the adventure. Like I said, this is stuff that you would read in Tolkien. When you read Tolkien, for those of you who, haven't gotten into anime and you're like, I don't know, the fantasy, it's nothing like Tolkien. Check Frieren. It is really a fantastic, and the animation itself is beautifully done. It is a marvel. It's what it is, and why this has no a higher acclaim from its peers is surprisingly on that. So yeah, January 2026, winter on there. And speaking of another hotbed on there, which I'm just beginning on season one, Black Clover is in the number 3 spot with season 2, which is coming out 2026. This has been a while. It's been about what is it, 10 years? 10 years since the end of season 1. And yeah, it's back for a second season. It's on Crunchyroll. I know there's still a lot of fans have been wanting this one to see a new season of this series, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Also, this particular show is coming to its finale after such a long time. I mean, this is something I started out with. Like I said, this is one of the, when you look at the best of anime, this story is, one of the top on there when you look at it. Like I said, the Sailor Moon, the Dragon Ball, the Yu Yu Hakusho. But what we're talking about is Bleach itself. It's getting its final season. It's ending 2026 on there. The 1,000-Year Blood War is continuing on. And basically, I'm not even up to this yet. I'm way behind on this. Same thing with like my One Piece. I'm way behind on this. This is well worth the watch. Like I said, if you're a first timer, Bleach happens to be one of the, and I'm talking about go back to the original, way back to the original season 1. It is well worth the watch. The action, the storyline itself is well worth it. The newer stuff is also well worth it as far as that. A lot of fans have been enjoying on that, even though it's had mixed reviews. And finally, here's the top one for this. And I haven't finished season 1 yet, but it's very interesting. Hell's Paradise will be returning for a season 2. What is across on that island? What is it? What is going on? They've sent these murderers and thieves to reclaim this flower. It's a one-way mission onto there if they plan to return. And what is this with this person that basically can't die? To this point. So you'll have to wait a bit longer. January 2026. Hell's Paradise returns. It is beautifully done as well. You got to like the era when they talk about the history, the folklores and stuff like that of Japan. The anime is always a good concept to the way to promote these storylines, even though some of the live action stuff is fantastic as well when it comes down to it. I mean, you look to this perspective that stories like this always have had a strong presence in history. I mean, you can go all the way back to Kurosawa. I mean, right now you can watch his take on King Lear called Ron on Tubi TV. If you haven't watched the King Lear version of the Akira Kurosawa's take on it, this is one of the last films in history no CGIs or anything to that nature. They have hundreds and hundreds of people on horseback. Basically what they could have done with Game of Thrones, but this is, the battle scenes are perfect in that. And the same thing is the fight scenes in Hell's Paradise happens to be very, very good to itself. So do catch Hell's Paradise. Ron is available right now on Tubi TV. If you want to catch that out. It's not anime, it's live action, so it's well worth, anything in the Japanese of the Kurosawa era, it's well worth the watch as well. So next week we have about 10 more things to talk about this. We'll bring it next week on there. And we are going to end with this. Of course, there are back and forths in the streaming industry and how some of the streaming giants are handling some of their subjects, whether it's horror, whether it's action, TV shows, dramas, classic movies. And anime is up there in the top, echelon now these days. You're seeing more and more people switch into anime these days, and it's giving a boost to certain streaming sites. I mean, right now, you have Crunchyroll obviously on there, and Amazon Prime is another. Tubi is another to that point. But this particular platform seems like the has now become the dominant force in anime viewing, and that's Netflix. Yes, I said it. Has become a dominant force in anime viewing habits. And it's taken over from Crunchyroll. This is not where they're tied together, on there. No, Netflix has moved forward. And, there are many reasons to this. One of the major reasons is that Netflix has been doing it the longest, not as far as anime, but as far as streaming itself. I mean, they started out as a DVD rental company where they sent the DVDs to you, and then they created their own website, right at the beginning of streaming. And now take it to the before we go that far, take it to the opposite end, that you have a pirated site that basically was pirating anime for quite some time and now became a legitimate streaming site itself. This was a battle that was long coming. This is Kong and Godzilla, smashing together onto there. This is bound to happen. This is Clubber Lang versus Rocky Balboa, however you want to put it to this point. But we got an article out here, and this is from Collider. And I'm going to read into this, and, we'll go through a little bit on what has been going on. Sorry, Crunchyroll, you're no longer the anime streaming giant as another major platform takes the lead. For a long time now, Crunchyroll has been the dominant force in the anime streaming scene. In an era where broadcaster and media outlets have fought for a share of the streaming market, Crunchyroll has found a niche audience and catered it for many years. However, despite having an extensive library of anime content, it was recently reported that anime fans have discovered a new platform for consuming their content. According to the new study, Dentsu, it reveals that 48% of viewers globally go to Netflix to watch anime. This statistic makes sense since not every region can accept Crunchyroll like some parts of Asia, so they would rely on Netflix to watch titles like Spy X Family, and those that do not have everything will be available in that region's library. However, when focusing on the US market, Crunchyroll ranks at last at 23%. Dominating this region are Netflix at 63%, followed by Disney Plus and Hulu at 46%, and then Prime Video at 43%. As of writing, neither of these companies have commented on this study. This is what I've said in the past, and we'll continue on in a minute. This is the reason why a lot of people hit pirating sites, because Crunchyroll is not available everywhere. Some of these sites are not available wherever throughout the world. So where are you going to get your anime? You could probably go a VPN wise, but depending on where you are, sometimes that VPN will get you to a point, but then you might have some issues because depending on how your Wi-Fi service is going on there, to able to handle that, because there are places that still the Wi-Fi service, or they're using satellite, is not really that good. I mean, even in this country, there's still people that are struggling with using the internet. They're not fully connected. But where are you going to get your anime? Where are you going to get your anime fix? Where are you going to get the particular things that you want? Like I said, you're going to go piracy. Netflix is more readily available throughout the world. They are the Citibank of streaming. And what I mean by that is, like, you can go anywhere in the world and you can find Citibank. Netflix is that point. They have become onto there. This is why you have companies like Tubi TV is starting to move into these other markets as well. Tubi's moving into the Central and South American markets right now. They're starting to push into Europe as well to that point. This is the battle of the streaming wars that has been going on for quite some time. You see Disney itself sort of pulling back, like places like India, because they just really can't handle to that point. But also Hulu picks up the slack from them in others. And then, of course, Amazon's Prime Video, they're in that same niche as well. Continuing on, Crunchyroll first launched in 2006 and is now owned by Sony. During Sony's business segment presentation and Fireside Chat 2025, the company bragged on how it's able to take advantage of a diverse business to produce content and products and maximize its IP globally, and that synergy is part of their business strategy, especially when it comes to producing anime content, using Solo Leveling as a success and an example. See, and this is the thing about it is, I love Solo Leveling. I have nothing against Solo Leveling, but you can see how they're pushing Solo Leveling when you have shows like Free Rent, which Free Rent is in certain terminology, certain ways, it is somewhat superior in certain ways, whereas Solo Leveling is superior in other ways. And that's the thing that you have to point out. You can't just sit there and say, well, we're counting on just Solo Leveling to carry us. You have hundreds of other titles that are just as good, whether it's current or classic. That's what you should be talking about. You should be saying, oh yeah, we got Solo Leveling, which is, people love that show. But yet, we got other great shows like Free Rent and, a slew of other shows that people are watching on there. And basically, the media doesn't talk about to that point, and we're promoting that here. And that's the way you have to treat this situation. Finishing off, Netflix is a home to a vast collection of titles, including both the original and licensed content, and some of the notable titles of Free Rent, Beyond Journey's End, Detective Conan, Dan 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 Dan, and Jujutsu Kaisen. It is also known to host live-action adaptations, such titles as Cells at Work, which I haven't seen yet. Death Note, wouldn't recommend. I recommend the Japanese version of Death Note. And One Piece. Meanwhile, it is the only place to stream shows like Sakamoto Days, The Way of the House Husband, Beastars, My Happy Marriage, Komiko Can't Communicate, and Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead, among many others. During the 2025 Crunchyroll Anime Awards, Delicious in Dungeon received numerous nominations besides being a Netflix exclusive. However, it was unable to pull many wins during this year's event. If you need an anime fix, Season 2 of Dan 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 is now available to stream on Netflix. Meanwhile, Sakamoto Days Part 1, Part 2 is also as well out on Netflix too at the time of this video recording, not time of this article, which was July 14th. We recorded this early part of the week. So basically, Sakamoto Days is now available in Season 2. But understand this, and take it to this point, Delicious in the Dungeon got its popularity not from Crunchyroll, not from Hulu, but from Netflix itself. Netflix was the one that put it out, and basically it picked up fans very easily from that. And you might say to yourself, well, I like my anime the way it was, the subtitling and all that, because I noticed, Netflix is a lot of English dubs as well. There's nothing wrong with subtitles and versus English dubs if it's done properly. Next week we'll be talking about that. So, hold your point on your subtitle dub versions on there for next week, because we have another great article on this, and it shows the second part of the reason why Netflix is on top on there. And the thing about it is, you look to the perspective of the things that they have right now. You can go over and watch the Apothecary Diaries at the moment. You can Shield Hero is now available over there. Black Clover, Vinland Saga, Mashal is also available. The newer Rama half, Hell's Paradise, which we just talked about, Dorhorodo, which also I do recommend on that. That is also very, very good on there. Beastars, which is coming down to its last season on that. Hajime Ippo, High Rise Invasion is also another one on there. Mob Psycho 100 is available. There's a Hunter x Hunter. We can go down a list of so many. Here's one that's really good. I did enjoy. Kotaro Lives Alone. That is a fun one to watch on there if you haven't seen that. Like I said, Jujutsu Kaisen is available too there. And there's so much to look at now versus from before. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, some of it's, as I say, dumpster fire, as Mother's Basement would say on there, but worth the watch. But this is what's been happening, and I told you, this is going to shift around. Crunchyroll in itself has a internal problem in the company itself. And it's several things. The first one off the bat, you're not available in every territory possible. Yes, you have one of the largest catalogs as far as the anime streaming, but everyone cannot access it. That's where your issue is. The other issues is the politics in your company itself. The people that are activists in the company itself, whether it's from the old Funimation era of the company, Sony itself, because Sony has been doing it themselves for quite some time in their gaming industry, to the point where even there are those who have been working in the company that have left the company and says there are people in the company that have a strong belief and chastise the titles that are coming through them, that it is pornographic. Yes, I've said it, and that is what is going on. You demonize your own product. You have your employees that have been doing that, not praising the product. Why? Because they don't like the product itself. They're in a business that basically yes, I understand. You have an opinion. If you don't like something, you don't have to watch it. Let other people enjoy that product. But if you're working for the company that is distributing it in this country, put a couple 2 cents and says, hey, listen, I didn't like it. You might like it yourself. Go ahead and check it out. Don't demonize your job. Don't demonize the company you work for and the product that they sell. That's the big situations that are happening with them. Of course, you have the subtitling problem. You have the dubbing problem where they try to change things around to the point where they're trying to say, well, those in the West, they're not going to really understand this stuff. Really? There are people out there that are younger than me that explain some of this stuff better than I can. I'm shocked at the intent of how some of these people, their intelligent level is very well driven, and that's a good thing in the when it comes to product from overseas. Because I've always said, embrace everything. Embrace things that not are only in the United States. There's entertainment from abroad that is very good. I've lived on British, Korean, and Japanese products for quite some time. Besides the Spanish products that I've always been grown up around with my mom and my grandmother, which they watch the soap operas and stuff like that. And there's really good soap operas out there from Latin America. This is why Hollywood is desperate to try to get into the live action anime business. Because basically you have people out there watching anime that enjoy it. That they're willing to watch it in subtitling. And, they'll wait for it. They'll come to the point. Or they'll, if it's playing out there in Japan, they'll go out and pirate it immediately so they can watch it. They'll go out and buy the t-shirts. They'll buy the merch. And they've done for quite some time. This is what, the funny part is this is what Saturday morning cartoons used to be. There was a time that, for those of you who are unaware, when it came to Saturday morning cartoons, what was the big thing? Was the merch. This is what the U.S. government tried to push out because they said, the kids are living off the cereal, fattening up because of the cereal. They're buying all this unnecessary toys and stuff like that. And these companies they're making money over the Saturday morning kids. Companies are supposed to make money. That's their job to do. Make a product, sell the product, and basically become financially stable from making money off the product. But like I said, there are those out there that will chastise the situation. This is why we don't have that Saturday morning cartoon anymore with, stuff from Hasbro, Milton Bradley, and all that being advertised on there, or the cereal. And yeah, I understand they're going to be changing up the cereal. Good. That's what should be done. I grew up with cereal. It was a different time period on that. There have been jokes. There was that South Park episode where they redid Wacky Racers. Everybody ran out, they said Wacky Racers is back. They ran out, got cereal and milk to go sit down and watch it. That's how kids were back then. But also remember that anime is not only for kids, it is for adults as well. There's plenty of adult content out there. There is something for everyone in the anime business, and I believe Netflix is starting to see that. They're still making a lot of mistakes. Not knocking on Netflix that they're perfect. They're still making some mistakes out there. They have one series that's coming out that basically, people were worried that they wouldn't be showing it in its entirety. Actually, they'll be dropping it all at one time when it comes out in September. But it's already running. I think it's already running now in Japan. And, people will see it pirated, but Netflix is banking on that they will do week to week on this because people thought they would drop it on time. But they're hoping that the English dubs would attract them to their site when it airs in September. And the one I'm talking about in there, it's basically the fragrant flower blooms with dignity, which is supposed to hit September 7th. And they said it will be weekly. And according to Anime Corner, they said it will be weekly. It will be weekly when it hits on the dub version. So there's that. There's one worry out the door on there. Question is, will people show up to watch it? Long after that, it's already aired in Japan. But hey, listen, this might give it a second life because normally when things come to its beginning, to its end. That's why things should be just weekly. People sometimes they'll stay talking about it for a bit and then they forget about it. But maybe this will keep it going for longer because this happens to be one series that basically, might be up there in the top 10 for 2025. So we'll continue to monitor this. Drop a comment. Tell me, what are your thoughts about this? Do you believe this new study from Dentsu that basically Netflix is top dog now in the anime streaming world? Do you believe that situation? Or you just think it's also a lot of horse hockey in itself? So drop that comment, like, share, and hopefully today's the day I've earned your subscription. Now, for you folks out there like to see something else of different nature, be sure to check out Sci-Fi Snob. His shows on Sunday nights live at 11 p.m. Eastern. As he does the lounge segments on there, and he talks about different things every week to week on there. And then, of course, every Wednesday, 11 p.m. Eastern. This is both on YouTube. He's the Babylon 5 retrospective. The next episode on there. I should be there on episode 9, season 2. So I will be on the panel on that episode. But do check it out as they're bringing on different panelists to talk about Babylon 5, which is, one of the most popular science fiction epics of all time. So do check it out. Also give him a subscribe. He's hitting over 600. Need to get him to 1,000 on there. And we really do appreciate all that. So until next time, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for clicking out this video. Don't forget to check us out next week here, 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and Rumble for another edition of Taco Thursday. Be sure to check out all of our other videos on CuteCast TV. We have Man with the Show during the week. You can go back on there. I know a lot of people are just catching up on some of the stuff in there. So, take in some anime. Go out and get a manga. Treat it like a bottle of wine. Respect it. Open it up. Smell it. Taste it. Enjoy it. And we'll see you next week. Same time, same square. Bye-bye now.
Thanks for watching, commenting, and sharing this video. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe as this helps the reach of this channel. Finally, as a content viewer, you have the ability to help support this channel as new internet laws around the world will diminish our reach and affect our sponsors. If you choose to help, there are two ways, listed in the description below. The first link will lead you to a pay site where you can make a monetary donation. The second will lead you to our gear shop where you can buy shirts, mugs, and other gear. Discounts will be listed on the site. Once again, thank you for watching and your support.